Greetings from Asbury Park. Okay, sorry, I had to say it. You know what? I'm going to get up because it looks like I have a horn coming out of my head. I'm sitting in front of the historic Berkeley Hotel where I stay whenever I'm down in the area and have multiple jobs back to back, as it's kind of a schlep back to New York City. It's like 90 minutes each way, plus. So it almost feels like I'm back on the road doing bus and truck tours and one-nighters. But it's, I do like it down here. I've since become enamored with the local history. There's a lot of it. It's very rich in musical history, certainly. Most notably, probably, or most famously, the Stone Pony is just a couple blocks down that way, where Bruce Springsteen and a lot of other acts kind of got themselves together. That's the historic Paramount Theater, which is adjacent to a beautiful pavilion full of shops, all of which I understand has been condemned due to neglect and attrition on the part of a developer who promised to restore the property and hasn't. So that's a lot of history we're going to lose. But I was talking about feeling like I was back on the road. That was always one of the great pleasures of being on the road, is being somewhere that I hadn't been before and finding out about a place, particularly in the days when I was doing it, when there was no internet. But now it's even better because you have the internet as a resource. So, for example, I know about this pavilion. I know about what brought so many people down here. I mean, there's a boardwalk just beyond the hotel, and you're right on the ocean. It's gorgeous, which is why I like to stay down here. I'm a water baby. And I learned that through an exhibit here at the Berkeley a couple years ago, that Arthur Pryor used to do concerts here over 100 years ago. So, so many famous musical acts are local who came from here. Too numerous to mention. But some more crazy musical history when I learned I was on the road. For example, I remember being in San Antonio, Texas for 5 weeks, and I had never really heard of Tejano music before. And so I heard it every day. There was even a station, 107.5 Tejano. I loved that station. And of course, once I learned about internet radio and that it was available about a month later, the station went off the air forever, which was a shame. But I was talking to one of the local musicians who told me that at some point there had been a large German population that had settled there. And I was a little surprised by that. And he said, well, man, where do you think we got the accordion from in Tex-Mex music? And I said, what? And he said, think about it. He says that's the Germans use that for their polkas, and it made its way into our hands, and it made its way into our culture, and we brought it back to Mexico, as well as the music on the Mexican side of the border. Mind blown, who knew, right? So it certainly, by having this information, well, I already liked the music I was hearing, but it certainly changed the way I was listening, and it made me think about maybe what sounds were popular to Germans at the time, which would have been, I guess, the late 1800s, and what some of their folk music is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the great pleasures of being on the road is learning about stuff like this and having food for thought, and maybe not influencing your own music making, but it can't help but do that in some way, and certainly enriching your musical knowledge. So always ask questions, even though now we have these little phones and that can access all sorts of information that we never even conceived of years ago. Anyway, it's something to think about, and it certainly makes for a richer life.